On a webinar format, you will have no option to turn your camera or microphone on, but you can select the speakers you want to use here. You can open the chat by clicking here. After clicking, you can select who do you want to send messages to, either only to panelists or to panelists and attendees. You can virtually raise your hand by pressing here. To lower it down, just press the same icon again. If you want to raise a question, you can use a Q&A, where you can write a question and choose whether you'd like to send the question publicly or privately. If you require simultaneous interpretation, you can find it on this icon, where you can select the language you want to hear the meeting interpreted into. While using the interpretation, press Mute Original Audio if you hear the floor language on the interpretation channel. When you join the webinar, you will be asked to rename yourself. Please do so according to the following guidelines: name plus country or institution. Next, you will be asked to provide your email. Click on Join Webinar. You will join the webinar as an attendee. You need to wait for the host to upgrade you to panelist. When the host does so, you will be sent out of Zoom and the program will automatically log in again, this time as a panelist. The main difference between attendee and panelist on a webinar is the fact that you will be able to control your microphone and camera. You can mute or unmute yourself. You can also select the microphone and speaker you want to use. Also, when using interpretation, make sure that if you take the floor, you are using the same language you have selected for interpretation. Otherwise, you would be speaking over the interpreter. If you wish to speak in a different language than the one of the interpretation you're using, please turn off interpretation before taking the floor.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this event, to this training called Integrating Knowledge Exchange in Higher Education, the Case of Jordan. This is an activity which is part of a UFM initiative called the Innovation and Employability Training in the Mediterranean. And without further ado, please let me give the floor to Itaf Ben Abdallah, Senior Advisor of the Union for the Mediterranean for Higher Education and Research. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you. Excellencies, dear colleagues, we are pleased to be digitally with you in Jordan, the country of our co-presidency, which we thank for the leadership on research and innovation through our UFM platform on research and innovation. It's also significant that our first national training on innovation take place in Jordan. For that, I express my thanks to the Jordanian Higher Council of Science and Technology, and especially Dr. Mahmoud Abu Hussein for his cooperation and support during all the process of preparation of this training. The Mediterranean holds one of the youngest populations on the world. The youth bulge in the southern Mediterranean has contributed to creating a large university student population across the entire Euro-Mediterranean region. That has implication for labor markets in the region. For that, education has therefore a key strategic role to play for the future of our region. For a prosperous Mediterranean quality education system which trains and skilled and employable and empowered youth are imperative. Yet education in the region faces several challenges which with many people graduating but without the skills and knowledge required for today's changing labor markets. Within this context, ensuring a quality and relevant higher education for all in the Mediterranean region becomes an urgent step for wider regional development. And response to the UN Sustainable Development Goal, the Goal 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. In this context, the Union for the Mediterranean as a regional organization joining the north and the south of the Mediterranean has decided to contribute to this key sector of the interconnection between academia and business. With the kind support of GZ, and by launching this initiative, reinforcing the innovation employability nexus. It has highlighted best practices to share, initiatives to join, and it is now promoting the development of specialized skills among academia, business, and government staff also. The character of young people transition from education to employment will be determined by countries' capacities to deliver relevant quality education. Investing in skills for employability and innovation can also play significant roles in achieving that goal. University can have powerful allies in this common area. Academia, industry, and policymakers can work together toward synergies and knowledge and employment. Industry-university partnerships have emerged as tools of developing local economies, connecting them to global trends and building a new skilled generation. Yet the persistent gap between the skills acquired at universities and the requirement of the job market is one of the major structural issues of the regional education sector. Indeed, over 32% of the enterprises in some southern Mediterranean countries have identified labor skill levels as a major constraint of hiring. We hope that the discussion today and during the next session are going to help you in your professional life and help the many young people in our region that would benefit from a more interconnected knowledge ecosystem in order to develop new careers and build a better future. Finally, we sincerely thank the Jordanian Higher Council of Science and Technology for their partnership in organizing this national training, and our experts for their hard work during all this process, especially Dr. Nina Vols and Dr. Carol Switzer, and all the members of Paradigm. We rest with the hope to meet physically as soon as possible. I am pleased to give the floor to my colleague, head of the Johannes Lepels, head of the GZ project, the project support of the UFM on employment and trade. Thank you. Johannes, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ita. And a warm welcome also from my side on behalf of GIZ, which is the German Development Agency, and which is supporting this training and also the development of the handbook, which will hopefully be another useful tool for your work in the future. It's really great to see that there are so many Jordanian colleagues from the government side, the private sector side, and from academia here today, because this is what this training will be all about, the collaboration between academic institutions, the industry, and the governments. And why is this collaboration so important? Because, for instance, in Jordan, the World Bank has estimated that during the COVID pandemic, Jordan's youth unemployment rate has reached 50%, which is unprecedented. And just like before the pandemic, the unemployment rate in Jordan among people with university degrees is even higher than for people without university degrees. And this is something that we can observe in many countries in the UFM region. And obviously, this creates a lot of frustration for everybody, for graduates, because they struggle to find employment despite their education, for businesses, because they don't have a workforce with the skills they need, and for governments, because the public sector cannot absorb the high number of graduates and the social system is under pressure and they lose competitiveness in the region. Governments alone will not be able to change this. Businesses alone will not be able to change this. And universities alone will not be able to change this. So what we need instead is really a government that involves industry and academia in the policy making at eye level, universities that cooperate with governments and industries to meet the demands of the labor market, and also to expose students to the industry, for instance, by establishing industrial doctorates or dual studies. And we need industry that cooperates with governments and universities to fully use the brain power that is available at the universities. And this is, of course, even more important when we look at the many complex social, environmental, and economic challenges that we face nowadays in the whole region. And these solutions to these challenges will require the collaboration between the public, the private, and the academia side, because simply very few organizations have the capacity to tackle these challenges on their own and to find innovative solutions to these challenges on their own. So the idea of this training is really to find better means and tools for cooperation based on up-to-date research, based on the specific Jordanian context, and based on the many best practice examples from Jordan that we will hear today and on Wednesday. So in this sense, this training is also much more than only theory, because it gathers high-level decision makers from higher education institutions, policymakers, and industry representatives. So what I'm saying is that this training itself is in a way already creating the network to develop this collaboration, thanks to all of your participation today. And lastly, I would just like to thank the colleagues from the UFM Division for Higher Education and Research for their work in coordinating this training. And of course, also a huge thanks to the great team of experts, as usual, Dr. Follis, Dr. Switzer, Mr. Musa, who will lead the sessions today and on Wednesday, and you're in great hands. So thank you, and Giuseppe, over to you.
Thank you very much, Johannes, for your words. Now I would like to give the floor to Dr. Hussam Kassaoune, Secretary General Assistant of HCCT. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you for having me. Actually, this is only my second week here at the Higher Council, and I was really delighted to learn about this project from Dr. Mahmoud. And it's really my honor to speak to you in this event. So on behalf of the Higher Council for Science and Technology, I'd like to thank you and welcome you all to this workshop. So this workshop is about the integrating knowledge exchange in higher education, and we take the Jordanian case. So this workshop, as I learned, is a part of the Innovation Employability Nexus project that I discussed with Dr. Mahmoud before, with the collaboration of UFM, GIZ, and Paradigm. So this program is about a triple helix model of innovation between three pillars: academia, industry, and government. So this program aims at finding the best ways of interactions between these three pillars, and nothing can do better than having such an audience from the three backgrounds. We have today people from the academia, we have people from the government, we have people from the private sector and the industry. This workshop certainly supports the efforts of the Higher Council of Science and Technology. It's the umbrella of the Science and Technology and Innovation in Jordan. So this workshop really supports our efforts on consolidating the cycle of innovation through the knowledge triangle. A knowledge triangle that consists of education, research, and innovation, and emphasizes the importance of strengthening this cycle, the cycle of innovation at the universities of Jordan. I have learned earlier that we have 63 participants, which is really a great number for an online event. We're really delighted to have all of you guys. I welcome you all again. And I would like to thank our distinguished speakers and trainers today. We are waiting to hear your speeches, presentations, and sessions. I wish you a very fruitful event. Thank you very much. Over to you, Giuseppe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Casané. In short, for an introduction about this meeting of today and of Wednesday, as you know, this is the first time that we are meeting in the national context. So it's a wider initiative by the Union for the Mediterranean, supported by the German Development Cooperation, and with the great support by Paradigms for getting some training on the ground on this very important topic, which is how can we make this triple helix, this three concept of the education, academia, the private sector, so the business sector, the economy, and the governments to talk more with each other, with the goal of having a more innovative economy from one side, and to the other to have more careers for our researchers, our PhDs, and our students. We are very delighted to have this first training with the country. So specifically, it's a pilot activity that we're delighted to have with Jordan, also thanks to the great engagement from Dr. Mahmoud Abu Hussein and the others for finding the space in the country. And this is why today and on Wednesday we'll be discussing this topic of the triple helix, and especially some best practices coming both from Jordan and from the region, in order to reflect together how can we have more of these interconnections, how can we facilitate this dialogue between different parts of society. Without further ado, let's now delve into the more theoretical part, into the necessary framework that we need to know in order to advance. And I leave the floor to Dr. Nina Wallace from Paradigm, which is going to present a triple helix model as a theoretical lens. Doctor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I would need to share, though. I need.
Can you share the slides?
Let me try again. No, I think then the central person would need to stop sharing. I'm sorry about this. Can try that. Now, then, okay, thank you. Much appreciated. Can you see it?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you so much. I mean, first of all, a lot of has already been mentioned, so we can jump right in. But I do have to thank everybody, including the Jordanian partners, the GIZ UFM, to have this opportunity, because this is something that is very dear to my heart. And so let's jump in. And the idea is we start out with a model, but on Wednesday, we're going to look more at the how-to. But important to start out with a model, and it's been mentioned already. You also see here the cover of the handbook published by UFN in the end of last year with the support of GIZ, and we just shared the link, so for anybody who's interested. So it's definitely worth. It's a collection of many different best cases and so on and so forth. So we have talked about the high un- and underemployment of highly qualified graduates in the Mediterranean, specifically also in the Eastern Mediterranean. And I think what we can say is, despite the efforts that have been made over the last decades, we still haven't come to a point where there's easy solutions. So I think it's good to look at it in a way that this high youth and underemployment in the region has all of the characteristics of a so-called wicked problem. Climate change is a wicked problem, for instance. It is socially complex. It has many interdependencies and multiple causes, and there's no single solution. And what makes it even more complex, that it's perceived very differently by different stakeholders. through contrasting views and agendas. And so we see we are really faced with complex structural impediments that are politically, economically, and socially charged. So basically that means that the effectiveness of any single course of action is not given. Research shows us that the best way and only way to make any progress is to improve coordination among stakeholders, to divide the problem into smaller pieces, focus on small wins, and that show positive changes, and that ultimately can lead to some, and all of that ultimately can lead to some transformative change. And when we deal with wicked problems, then the triple helix of innovation provides a useful sense of a useful model for sense making. So let's look at it. But first of all, why even use a model? For the academic world, that is often rather clear, but I think it's still good to stress why use a model. It helps us visualize something that is complex. It simplifies it in a certain way. It supports the communication of ideas among different stakeholder groups, and it helps us develop a common language. So if you see the three spheres, academia, government, and industry, and this model specifically acknowledges the importance of higher education for innovation. And this is where we are coming from. But when we say innovation, I think it's really important to not just think about new products for the market or new technologies, but also innovations inside organizations. So innovations also in the public sector. Let's look at how we can be moving from a static to an interactive triple helix. So if we starting on the left, you have the static triple helix. So this is typically present in lower income countries. The three spheres, academia, industry, and government, are separate. Industry is regarded as the national champion. Government plays the major role of steering academia and industry to encourage innovation, and academia's role is reduced, inverted commas, to teaching and research. So in this model, government and industry don't leverage the knowledge generation potential of academia. So both teaching and research are too distant from industry needs. And this is what we're going to address on Wednesday specifically. And there's no incentive for academia to actually engage in research with industry. Now, if we move to the middle, to the laissez-faire triple helix, it's called, it's typically present in middle income countries. So academia, industry, and government still operate in three separate spheres, but and academia's task is to supply trained human capital, so graduates, and research mainly in forms of publications. Industry identifies the research that is relevant to them without much interaction actually with academia, and government is limited to addressing problems that the private sector cannot support. And if we go to the very right, which is the interactive triple helix, that is typically present in high-income countries with a strong innovation ecosystem. So the three spheres will interact and collaborate increasingly, which leads to increased innovation activities. So this interactive triple helix is characterized by strong bilateral and trilateral relations between the three spheres, and consensus spaces and hybrid organizations that mediate between the three spheres. It's where you see the overlaps. For instance, a science park is an example of the type of organization that could typically be found at the center. Academia plays a prominent role in innovation, and universities become more entrepreneurial as they establish new relationships with industry and they change their mission. And talking about the third mission here, the knowledge triangle. And then in terms of innovation policies are more an outcome of the interactions than a prescription by government. So this is how things can evolve, and the more you move to the right, the more innovative the ecosystem will become. I think it's also important to mention that, of course, this triple helix, which is used a lot in development, has also evolved. The fourth dimension, civil society, has been added to this. This demonstrates a shift from the knowledge economy to the knowledge society, a knowledge democracy for knowledge production and innovation. And then the fifth helix, with the fifth helix, the model becomes even more comprehensive. It adds the natural environment of society, and thus is ecologically sensitive. So that means that sustainability becomes a major driver in our knowledge society. But for simplicity reasons, we'll talk a bit about the triple helix, but keep in mind that we have the fourth and the fifth helix there as well. So we really are thinking of a quintuple helix. Now, if we look at partnerships between the three spheres, it's nothing new. Partnerships have always existed. I think that's really important to stress. However, these partnerships are established by individual researchers and company staff and focus on a specific project. That means they're often really limited to that project. They start there and they end there. Or if we talk about the private sector, they stay within a business unit, often linked to one single project. So opportunities for broader engagement and impact are lost. Large corporations and leading academic institutions are moving towards a more strategic partnerships in which the relationships are no longer based on just personal connections, but they're institutionalized, and they actually enter company-wide master research agreements. For instance, Huawei will not deal with a single university. They will actually, right now, the latest, that was just communicated this week, for instance, Huawei, the Chinese mobile phone company, entered into a partnership with the African Union. And as part of that, actually the Pan-African University, which is an agency of the African Union, is part of that agreement. So we are moving towards master agreements. So this creates transparency in the collaboration activities. It also improves the negotiation position. It accelerates the deployment of projects, and really inside the higher education institutions encourages interfaculty collaboration on topics of shared interest. We must not forget that universities are what some social scientists call loosely coupled systems. They are generally not managed really top down. The single institutes or faculties or departments are highly independent, and it's really important to take that into account. Now, let us look also how innovation has been changing. If we look at the competitive landscape and the pace of technological innovation and ever shorter product life cycles, we can see that companies are required to innovate faster. So if we look companies, the partnerships must actually adapt to these needs. Companies operate in a way in a much more uncertain environment, and And the trend is to draw actually from a much wider range of knowledge sources and collaborations, as the speed of innovation has been increasing very fast. So in the past, what you see on the left, companies would rely much more on their own innovation capacity. At the best, you can see the little dots that flow on the left into the funnel. They would see what kind of papers have been published, patents, but really the innovations would stay very much within the funnel. And we also know that some big companies have their own research departments, of course. So basically, you could see that the research would internally be translated into new products and business, and the information is not shared with the outside world. But this is changing, so moving more towards open innovation on the right, where creative and knowledgeable organizations and individuals outside of the company can also contribute to achieving the strategic goals. That means that there's sharing actually in both ways, not just in one way. So the development process, the development of new products, actually it's a participatory approach with universities, with civil society organizations, with individuals, and so collaborating in the process. And you can see that very well, for instance, how Google works, for instance. So as we are, to summarize, we can say that we are really moving from, on the left, knowledge transfer on the spectrum. So look at this as a spectrum. On the very left, the knowledge transfer, on the very right, to open innovation. And actually, I want to stress here specifically that a lot of offices in universities are still called knowledge transfer offices, which is, I think, something that we need to think about. Do we want knowledge transfer, or do we really want to move more towards the approach of open innovation, of a collaborative approach? We need to see where on the spectrum we position ourselves as in terms of organizations. But as knowledge generating organizations, academia definitely is becoming a more important part of the innovation ecosystem. And so if the three spheres, academia, policymakers, and industry work well together, they really together can become a motor of innovation. So I think if we talk about the triple helix of innovation in our head, at the same time, we need to think about moving towards a system of open innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nina. This has been synthetic yet easy to follow, full of interesting concept. Otherwise, without this theoretical outlook, it will be very much impossible to understand the goal of this training itself, which is how can we frame our discussion on improving these interconnections. So now we have a better understanding of what is the theory behind it, what is the knowledge framework behind it, moving from knowledge transfer to what is more co-creation. Now that we know a bit more of the general concept behind it, perhaps it would be interesting to know what is the case of Jordan in concrete. So for this, I would like to invite Dr. Mahmoud Abu Hussein to give a short perspective on the current initiative on employability and knowledge exchange in Jordan. So Doctor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Giuseppe. It's my pleasure to meet you again. Welcome you and all participants. Thank you for your efforts, your time, burdens, and for the support from GIZ. Allow me to switch to Arabic. I believe that we have a translator, online translator. So,
just for a piece of information, yes, everybody can click on interpretation and choose English and Arabic if they want to hear it in English or Arabic. This is good to know. Thank you for reminding us.
Yes, thank you. So, اوكي لا خلينا على احنا انجليزي هون. سأتحدث يعني سأبدأ بالوضع الحالي بالأردن. الوضع العام بالأردن الآن as جوهانز كما أشار جوهانز mentioned إنه البطالة بالأردن الآن بالزياد. بالربع الأخير من 2020 كانت البطالة تقريبا وصلت 24% للأسف، والآن نتحدث على 25% البطالة بالأردن هي بالزياد ونسب غير مسبوقة. طبعا نتحدث عن الأردن كبلد في نسبة التعليم العالي مرتفعة جدا، سواء لدرجة البكالوريوس أو البوست جراجويت ماجستير ودكتوراه، لكن الفرص الوظيفية محدودة ببلد صغير محدود الموارد. الاعتماد فيه غالبا على الذات وعلى الأمور التجارية الصغيرة، لذلك الفرص الوظيفية عندنا محدودة جدا. فالمعاناة من البطالة هي بالزيادة بالأردن، وهي أحد المشاكل الكبيرة. للأسف فرص العمل اللي متوفر الآن هي مثل ما أشرنا محدودة. اعتماد الخريج من الجامعة على إيجاد فرصة وظيفية بالدوائر الحكومية أو المؤسسات بشكل عام، مع إهمال أو عدم المعرفة الكافية في إيجاد فرص تشغيلية ذاتية من ناحية استغلال الإبداع وريادة الأعمال والأفكار الريادية اللي ممكن تكون موجودة عند أي شاب أردني أو خريج جديد إنه يستغلها. الفرص متاحة، لكن هي عدم استغلال الفرص وعدم المعرفة الكافية فيها. لذلك إحنا بدعمكم من خلال البرنامج حبينا إنه نشرك جميع القطاعات لأجل فتح الآفاق وإيجاد فرصة حوارية حول الموضوع وكيفية الخروج بتوصيات ترفع المكانة للشاب الأردني والفكر الريادي له بإيجاد فرص والتخفيف من موضوع البطالة، وهذا الهدف الأكبر للأردن. بالأردن في مبادرات كثيرة، في مشاريع، في بروجرامز كثير، لكن للأسف عند تطبيقها نتوقف عن نقطة معينة. احنا بنتحدث عن عدم الاستمرارية. أي مشروع أي بروجرام نشتغله بيكون فيه مخرجات كثيرة لدعم النساء، لدعم الشباب، إيجاد فرص وظيفية، ستارت ابس، لكن للأسف بتتوقف المخرجات عند مرحلة معينة وما في استمرارية لها. كمان من خلال البرنامج احنا بنأمل انه نبحث عن كيفية ايجاد سبل الاستمرارية او الطريق او الاكشن بلانز لاستمرارية هاي المخرجات اللي بتكون عندنا بالبروجرام الزائد. بدينا من خلال المجلس ومن خلال المؤسسات بالمساهمة مع الشباب وريادي الأعمال والإنوفيشن بشكل عام، بإنشاء إنكوبيترز حاضنات الأعمال. بدينا بإنكوبيتر آي بارك بالتشارك مع المجلس، ما بين المجلس والمؤسسات الأخرى زي الجمعية العلمية الملكية. هي الهدف منها إنه كانت تحتضن أفكار الشباب لا تخليه ينشئ شركته، سواء هي كانت بتقدم خدمة أو منتج، ويكبر بهاي الشركة وتصير يعني هو بيوجد لحاله فرصة وظيفية، وعلى العكس بيوجد فرص وظيفية لمجموعة من الشباب الآخرين اللي ممكن يكونوا يساعدوا على العمل بهاي الشركة وتكملة الطريق فيها. المرحلة الثانية كانت بدأت تقريبا بال 2008 من خلال المجلس بإنشاء عدة مكاتب لنقل التكنولوجيا. نقل التكنولوجيا كانت الهدف منها إنه كيفية الاستفادة من مخرجات المشاريع اللي ممكن تصير بالجامعات أو بالأكاديمية من خلال الباحثين، وكيفية فعليا توجيه هاي المشروعات ومخرجاتها. أنا بتحدث عن الأبلايد ريسيرش، كيفية إيجاد طريقة لتتجيرها، تحويلها للقطاع الصناعي، كيف يستفيد منها البرايفت سيكتور، وبنفس الوقت إيجاد تشريعات مناسبة إذا كانت هاي الأفكار غير موجود فيها أي تشريعات ناظمة من خلال الجفرمنت، والاستفادة منها على أرض الواقع. تم التوسع بمكاتب نقل التكنولوجيا بالأردن لغاية سنة 2015 تقريبا ولغاية اليوم أكيد، لكن كانت الفترة ما بين 2008 ل 2015-16 هي الفترة الأكبر للعمل على نقل التكنولوجيا بالأردن. لغاية اليوم نتحدث عن تقريبا 30 مكتب لنقل التكنولوجيا موزع ما بين المؤسسات المختلفة الأكاديمية والخاصة والحكومية لمساعدة الباحثين على نقل أفكارهم أو تبادل الدور ما بين البرايفت أو البيزنس وما بين الأكاديمية. انتقلنا بعدها لمرحلة الأكسلريتورز، مسرعات الأعمال، وكيفية تعظيم المخرجات اللي طلعت فيها حاضنات الأعمال. بدي أتحدث الآن عن مبادرة شغالين عليها، التشغيل الذاتي بالأردن بعد الدراسة وبعد المسوحات، والآن ما زلنا بفترة كمان مسوحات أكبر. تبين أنه عندنا مثل ما أشرنا أنه البطالة نسبتها مرتفعة جدا، لكن بمجموعة من المبادرات والمشاريع والبرامج بدنا نحاول نحد من هاي المشكلة بالأردن. بدي أعمل شير، لازم أوقف شير بس. Giuseppe, allow me to share my screen, please. كيف بالعربي؟ لازم أوقف شير الواتساب. Giuseppe.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, the interpretation just arrived a second later. Thank you very much for your. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry to switch between English and Arabic. So
you managed perfect in the two languages. Thank you very much.
مشاركة
Can you stop sharing this slide so we can share ours? Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Joseph.
Okay. Okay. So please, if the technicians can allow.
Yes. So the presentation in English, the slides in English, but I will switch between English and Arabic. So this initiative, المبادرة تم إنشائها بالتعاون ما بين المجلس الأعلى وعدة مؤسسات مثل غرفة صناعة عمان وغرفة تجارة عمان وبعض المؤسسات الخاصة بقطاع الصناعة. هي الهدف منها مبادرة تشغيل الذاتي. نتحدث اليوم عن شباب مؤهلين بكفاءات معينة، سواء هم متعلمين عندهم درجة علمية أو غير متعلمين لكن عندهم مهارات وكفاءات معينة، مثل العمل باليوم اللي هي ممكن بمجال الكهرباء، بمجال السيارات، بمجال التمديدات الصحية. لكن الكثير منهم من الشباب لا يوجد لديهم فرص وظيفية. فكانت هاي المبادرة للجمع ما بين، لو نمشي حسن على السلايدات، كانت المبادرة نكست بليز حسن، كانت المبادرة للجمع ما بين ذوي الكفاءات وما بين أصحاب العمل من الذين يحتاجون هاي الكفاءات. فهنا بنشير احنا لعدة إحصائيات بالأمور الأشغال اليومية وتوزيع نسبها. عندنا الدومستيك maintenance and construction work. الأعمال اللي بتعتمد على الكونستراكشن نسبتها كانت 21.2. نسبة الهاند كرافتس والتوريزم related services كانت 19. السيلز 19%. التكستايل والكيترينج 15. ترانسبورت والميكانيك 15%. والانتلكتشوال اكتيفيتيز كانت نسبتها 9%. من وين كانوا بيشتغلوا اصحاب هاي المهن؟ في منهم من البيت وهي النسبه الاعلى 36%. في منهم بالسيلينج ان ستريتس بالشارع بيشتغلوا 32.7%. سواء كانوا بالسمول شوبس او بالمحلات كانوا 23%. وبالبوثس الأكشاك اللي بتتوزع بالشوارع هي كانت نسبتهم 7.7. نكست بليز حسن. المبادرة هي فعليا مثل ما حكينا السيلف امبلويمنت كانت ما بين الجمع ما بين أصحاب الكفاءات وأصحاب المحلات أو البيوت أو المصانع أو الشركات اللي بتحتاج لهاي الكفاءات. بنحكي عن السورسنج وبنحكي عن مين هم اللي بيقدروا يوفروا هاي الخدمات، طبعا بالتعاون مع وزارة العمل لإيجاد تشريعات ناظمة لهاي المبادرة وكيف ممكن تكون على المستوى الرسمي بالمستقبل القريب بالأردن. الآن احنا بمرحلة التجهيز، بمرحلة إنشاء منصة هي تكون أونلاين للجمع ما بين الأطراف جميعها، ويكون طبعا ضمن تشريعات ناظمة من خلال وزارة العمل والبوليسي ميكرز. الحلول المقترحة مثل ما حكينا هي من خلال هاي المبادرة. احنا نوجد منصة أونلاين بيقدر الجميع يسجل عليها، بيقدر من خلالها يلاقي الفرصة، سواء طالب العمل أو مقدم العمل بيقدر يلاقي فرصته من خلال البلاتفورم أو المنصة اللي راح ننشئها، تكون مفتوحة للجميع، تكون ضمن مثل ما تحدثنا ضمن تشريعات ناظمة وينحط لها قوانين من خلال الجفرمنت بالأردن. نكست بليز حسن. احنا بنستهدف اليوم الكومبانيز اللي ممكن يطلبوا الخدمه، وراح نستهدف الكوميونتي، نستهدف الكومبانيز بانهم يكونوا هم سواء الاسميز يكونوا او الانتربرايزز يكونوا بوفروا مثل ما احنا هون بنشير بالسلايدات عمليه، سواء عمليه طلب الخدمه هاي أو سواء احتضانها بشكل مؤقت أو بشكل دائم. بنفس الوقت هم تطوير على صناعاتهم وعلى أشغالهم اللي بتتطلب كفاءات ومهارات معينة. بالنسبة للكوميونتي احنا بدنا نخفف من البطالة، ننظم العمل، ننظم الأمور اللي بتتعلق بالأجور، لأنه مرات ممكن ببعض الأوقات ممكن مقدم الخدمة ما يحصل على الأجر المناسب للخدمة اللي بيقدمها. كمان ممكن من خلال المبادرة ننظم الأمور جميعها سواء على مستوى الشركات أو على مقدم الخدمة. هاي بالنسبة لمبادرة التشغيل الذاتي اللي اقترحها المجلس بالتعاون مع المؤسسات الأخرى بالأردن. وإن شاء الله احنا يعني ان البروسيسنج يعني ان شاء الله قريبا راح تكون هي مبادره على ارض الواقع موجوده. نتحدث عن بعض ايضا المشاريع. اشارت نينا بيردمز عن الاوبن انوفيشن، عن الابداع مفتوح. احنا اليوم عندنا بالاردن سواء من خلال المجلس الاعلى كمظله كل الفعاليات العلوم والتكنولوجيا والابداع، سواء بالمجلس المشاريع او بالمؤسسات الاخرى الاكاديميه وغير الاكاديميه. عندنا مشاريع كثيره تجمع ما بين الابداع والتوظيف. هي بالغالب مخرجات اي مشروع عندنا الهدف الاعظم منها هي التقليل من نسب البطاله. اليوم بنتحدث عن احد المشاريع يوسول. هو مشروع بيجمع ما بين ريادي الاعمال وما بين اهداف التنميه المستدامه، كيف نوظف الممارسات ريادي الاعمال وافكارهم، سواء هي ننتج منها خدمات او منتجات، للمحافظه على استمراريه الحياه بشكل عام واستدامه البيئه. نتحدث عن تدريب وتاهيل ما يقارب 300 شخص ل 400 شخص، شاب وامراه، وايجاد او اختيار عدد من الافكار الرياديه اللي ممكن تكون مؤهله لدعمها بكل القطاعات، بقطاعات الزراعه، المياه، الغذاء، الطاقه، الصحه. نبحث عن افكار متقدمه رياديه ممكن نقدم لها الدعم من خلال هذا المشروع، بحيث انه تكون هي ممكن ينتج عنها شركه تقدم خدمات او منتجات معينه، ممكن هي تكون فكره داعمه للمؤسسات الموجوده عندنا، تعظم طريقه واليه العمل بالاردن. ايضا مشاريع تدعم قطاع الصناعه، سواء بقطاعات التكستايل، سواء بقطاعات الفود، سواء بقطاعات الهيلث، بجميع القطاعات، جميع الثيمز. احنا نتحدث اليوم عن ايضا مشاريع بتدعم الصناعات التقليديه، مثل صناعه المنسوجات، صناعه الالبسه، صناعه الاحذيه، وكيف ممكن نقدم الدعم لتدريبهم، تاهيل المصانع، ايجاد تكنولوجيات حديثه. تاثرنا بكورونا وما قبل كورونا، نتحدث اليوم عن تكنولوجيا متقدمه ومنافسه سعريه كبيره من دول شرق اسيا، من الصين، من الهند، من ماليزيا، واليوم نتحدث عن تركيا. منافسين جدا بالتكنولوجيا وبالاسعار. هذا اثر على دول الحوض المتوسط، على القطاعات الصناعيه. كيف ممكن اليوم ننهض بالقطاعات الصناعه مره اخرى، الصناعات التقليديه على مستوى المنطقه وبالاردن، تدريب وتاهيل اصحاب المصانع، ودعم عدد كبير سواء بتقديم منح او سيد فند لافكار جديده لقطاعات الصناعه المختلفه، للتمكن من المنافسه، سواء على مستوى التصنيع، جوده التصنيع والتسعير والتكنولوجيا المستخدمه. المعاناه اليوم ايضا على مستوى البحث. اليوم نتحدث عن الجاهزيه التكنولوجيه، تكنولوجي ريدنس ليفل. نتحدث عن التكنولوجي ريدنس ليفل او TRL، هي 9 مراحل، تبدا بالايديا او بالبيسك ريسيرش وتنتهي بمنتج موجود على ارض الواقع. يعني التدرج ما بين الفكره، البدء بعمل البحث، انتقال للمختبر، انتقال لمرحله المنتج، انتقال لمرحله السيميوليشن والبروتوتايب، انه يكون في عندنا منتج بروتوتايب، وبالنهايه يكون عندنا منتج على ارض الواقع. معاناتنا بالاردن ويمكن بدول مختلفه، لكن بالاردن نتحدث اليوم عن معاناه بالجاهزيه التكنولوجيه. ممكن احنا عندنا قطاع الاي سي تي او قطاع التكنولوجيا المعلومات متقدم، لانه ما بيحتاج توفر تسهيلات او ارضيه مثل ما بيحتاجها القطاعات الاخرى، القطاعات الصناعيه. الاي سي تي بيحتاج البعض بينشئ تطبيقات حديثه تكنولوجيه بتقدم خدمات متقدمه. الاردن متقدم جدا بالاي سي تي، لكن قطاع الاي سي تي هو فعليا ما بيحتاج التجهيزات التكنولوجيه او المختبرات او الاليات اللي ممكن تساهم بالقطاعات الأخرى مثل قطاعات الطاقة، الصحة، الغذاء، بحاجة لتجهيزات ضخمة وكبيرة علشان التقدم فيها. نحتاج إذن للحديث عن أو التقدم بالتكنولوجيا ريتنس ليفل، وهذا بتطلب منا للانتقال فعليا لمثلث المعرفة النولج تراينجل، وكيفية العمل على الجمع ما بين الإبداع والتعليم والبحث داخل الجامعات، ومن ثم تجهيز طلاب وباحثين مؤهلين انهم يساهموا بالمساعده لقطاع الصناعه ومؤهلين لسوق عمل جديد. نتحدث اليوم كيف بدنا نعمل تشبيك ما بين جميع القطاعات، ما بين مثل ما اشارت نينا والدكتور حسام، الجمع ما بين الحكومه والبرايفت او البزنس، والجمع ما بين الاكاديميا من خلال جميع المبادرات والامور اللي بنعمل عليها، سواء من خلال نقل التكنولوجيا، من خلال العمل على المشروعات والبرامج الموجوده. احنا اشرنا لبعض المشاريع، لكن هي مشاريع كبيره بالاردن اليوم موجوده بالمجلس وبباقي المؤسسات الاخرى. نتحدث اليوم ايضا عن مبادره ننطلق فيها ان شاء الله قريبا بعد ما ناخذ النولج الكافيه من خلال البرنامج اللي الان احنا نشتغل عليه، اللي بيقدموه UFM وبيردنز بدعم الجي اي زد. نتحدث عن مبادره قادمه تطبق بالجامعات اللي هي مثلث المعرفه، كيفيه النهوض بدمج ما بين التعليم والريسيرش والابداع، كيفيه تاهيل متخرجين وطلبه مؤهلين لسوق عمل جديد مفتوح يعتمد على افكار ابداعيه، لا يعتمد على الامور التقليديه انه فقط نحتاج خريج مؤهل لوظيفه حكوميه. اليوم لا، احنا مع وجود نسبه بطاله عاليه مرتفعه، فرص عمل محدوده جدا، اليوم الوظائف الحكوميه شبه مكتفيه، نبحث عن مؤهلين بيبحثوا بفرص وظيفيه جديده، بيفكروا بطريقه مختلفه بايجاد افكار ابداعيه توجد لنا حلول، بتقدم هي حلول للمجتمع، لقطاعات الصناعه اللي بتنعكس فعليا بالنهايه على اقتصادنا، وبتنعكس على تنميه المجتمع، وبتنعكس على تحقيق الاستدامه بالاردن. هذا اللي بنبحث عنه، وان شاء الله انه يكون هي احد مخرجات البرنامج اللي الان احنا بننفذه الان بالتعاون مع جميع المشاركين. برجو انه يكون في فائده للجميع من خلال البرنامج، لجميع القطاعات. المجلس والمؤسسات الاخرى موجوده دائما لدعم اي مبادرات ودعم اي مشروعات جديده بتحقق التنميه، بتحقق الدمج ما بين ايكو سيستم كله اللي بنتحدث عنه اليوم. بترك الان جوزيفي، the floor is yours. Thank you. شكرا للجميع. آسف إذا أطلت عليكم، لكن إحنا موجودين بالمجلس لخدمة الجميع اليوم. إن شاء الله موجودين إحنا طبعا بديسكشن خلال اليوم، ويوم 29 بعد بكرة بنكمل البرنامج إن شاء الله. شكرا جزيلا. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahmoud. This has been a very informative piece of information. Indeed, since the beginning of our training, what we really wanted was to have a co-creation of this workshop, and this required a very strong engagement from the Jordanian side for understanding what is the reality on the ground, what initiatives are ongoing, what are the bottlenecks, the challenges, and opportunities for working. So indeed, thank you for this presentation and these points of information, as it will allow us to reflect together. Actually, we are going to have in the second half of this meeting a guided discussion about possible reflection and best practices on the ground. So if the attendees would like, then we will have an opportunity during guided discussion to discuss also some best practices. Again, thank you for this very interesting points. Now we are slightly delayed, but still I would like to go for a very short coffee break of 5 minutes. We can regroup at 12:10 so that we can be with a fresher mind and start again. Thank you, and see you in 4 minutes. You can go take a cup of water or a coffee or whatever. See you in a while. Perfect. Thank you and welcome back. I hope you had the possibility to have a coffee or just relax a second. I would say that now we may restart with what we call the part 3 of our first session, which is the one on the examples of best practices. Let me just in short introduce you the concept behind this part. We wanted to invite some best practices coming from Jordan in order to present how the country was implementing what we call this triple helix. No, so what was how it was pursuing open innovation, how it was pursuing employability of students by taking some of the best practices on the ground. And for this, we thank, of course, the partnership of the Higher Council in Science Technology for helping us identifying these projects. What I would like to invite you to do is that while the speakers are presenting their projects, perhaps to write, if you have some ideas, some questions, to write them in the chat box, because at the end you are going to have a small discussion. So we are going to invite the speaker and the participants that have shown the interest in giving their opinion or their feedback to make a point, to have a question, or to add something to the discussion. So don't feel shy, and feel free to write in the chat box. But now let's start with Dr. Muder Almiani, who is a partner in the Jovital Jordan Opportunity for Virtual Innovative Teaching and Learning. This project is all about higher education institutions in Jordan and offers a chance to explore, implement, and disseminate state-of-the-art academic practices to enhance teaching quality and improve learning outcomes. So, Dr. Almiani, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Is the voice clear?
Yes, we can hear it fine.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that's one for their support, and for Dr. Mahmoud for their support and showing our works on Jovital projects. It was supported by Erasmus Plus. Let me share my screen, and can you give me that's one of the permissions, to share my screen? I cannot share my screen.
Okay, can we allow Dr. Almiani to share the screen? Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, Jovital, the Jordan. My name is Dr. Muder Almiani. I'm an associate professor in computer information system at Hussein bin Talal University, Jordan. I was the head of department of the CIS. Also, I'm senior on the IEEE associations for the computers. Jovital, the Jordan Opportunity for Virtual Innovative Teaching and Learning. That was supported by Erasmus Plus projects. That's one based on the capacity building in the field of the higher educations. That's one, the duration, it was 36 months from 2017 until 2021. We extended that one for 4 months because of that one, the corona. We had that problems in 2016 and before with the higher educations and institutions in Jordan, especially some of them north, some of them in the south, and some of them in Amman. And how are we gonna share all of that knowledge? And we had the shortage with some majors like in engineering, like civil engineering, okay? But there are some professors in the north, but there is no professor in the south, especially in Amman. And we had that one, the limit interactive teaching and physical academic mobility of the Jordan, the higher education institutions. And for that seasons, we applied for the Erasmus Plus projects with University of Dresden and many other universities. We're gonna show all that partners. for that problems. Okay, and we had that projects. That's one the objective. The overall objective of the Jovital is to improve the quality of the teaching Jordan Higher Education Institution by introducing innovative collaborative tools and methodology. Not that's one with the models. Okay, we had that's one an interactive and innovative model for methods for fostering academic international exchange. And that's one the solution. It was Jovital at the end, and that's one the results has offered Jordan higher education institutions chance to explore, implement, and disseminate state-of-the-art academic participating to enhance the teaching equality and improve the learning outcome of the students. Okay, for that's one the impact we supported. That's one the Jordan University. That's one. 5 universities in Jordan in designing and implementing effective information communication technology based on internalizations at the home activity and integrating them in the global network for the virtual mobility. There's some impact for the students. There's some of them for the teachers. There's some of them for universities. You can check that's one for instance for the students learning with peers approach. Okay, we had some courses international, and we have some of them domestics, like between the first things we started inside the university. Okay, just with one class and in each universities. Okay, after that we moved like with national course. Okay, just between that's 5 universities in Jordan. After that, we had an experience with the 10 universities in Europe, 5 universities in Europe, 5 universities in Jordan. We had international courses. Also, there's some impacts for the teachers, like per students engagements for university. For example, we had 5 VLAM, and that's one labs for the 5 universities in Jordan, market fit learning outcome also. For that project, 168 staff members from 9 universities, Jordan universities, participate in 4 training in Jordan and 2 observing visit to the Germany and UK. Also, that's one of the partners in Jordan, Prince Sumaya Universities, Al Samtan University, Jordan Universities, Tafila University, Glasgow University for Technology and Science. Also, we had partners from Italy, Slovenia, Germany. From Germany, the Dresden Technical University. That's one. This university, the grant holder for this project. Also, from Georgia, we had like associated partners from Georgia. Also from UK, we had that's one the Coventry University. That's one the VLC activity integrated in 5 teaching models at university at Jordan University. National VLC pilots with 50 students, also international VC pilots with 60 students from 10 higher educations, 5 in 5 countries. That's 5 in Europe, 5 in Jordan. And extend VLC pilots with 42 students, include the 6 refugees. Okay. That's how on the platform it's going to be look like. You're going to see all of those members. It's like social, but it's going to be like learning. Okay, e-learning module with social activity. You can add friends. You can attend any course with that's universities, the 10 universities. It's easy just to ask to join the group. Also, you can make friends. You can share your stories. All that things is like social, but is innovated way to get for the e-learning. Okay, include that's one over 800 members, student and academic, and over 140 groups and a class. 27 Jordan students qualify in Dresden and act with e-tutorial and help us to go with all of that classes. That's one, the 5 villas, that's what we had, one in Prince Somalia, one in Gast, one in GU and Tafila and Hussein Talal. And that's, you're gonna see that's one in north, in middle and in south. Also 5 awareness sessions of the virtual mobility efforts by 120 students for the 5 locations, Jordans, 42 refugees and disadvantages learning from Al-Zatari camp. Okay, we had that one. That is about Juvital. You can check that one, the websites for Juvital about all of that informations and outcome, and you can check all of that reports.
Thank you for your presentation. Indeed, it's interesting, this approach for improving the quality of teaching, which is always something that we give a bit for granted. No? That if you are an expert on the topic, if you get the degrees, then you should be able to teach. But indeed, it's something that requires supports, requires networks, and requires learning from each other. So the bigger and wider that it is, this network across the countries, the more effective it is in transferring knowledge and skills. So I would like to thank you for this very informative presentation. Now I would like to go to the second best practice. Perhaps we could also come back again during the discussion if you have further comments on this. Now for the second best practice, we have student graduation projects for industry. We have engineer Mohammed Abu Sadiq, Director of Programs at the ACI Amman Chamber of Commerce. So, Director, are you with us?
Thank you.
So the floor is yours.
Voice is good?
The voice is good. Yes, I can hear it.
Thank you for all. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank you for this invitation and this great effort. But I'm sorry, my presentation is in Arabic. I will speak in Arabic. Okay.
Yes, everybody can switch to to English if they want, to the button, of course.
And secondly, thank you for Dr. Mahmoud for this invitation. There's some problem in share screen. Somebody has the screen.
Can you share it?
I cannot share.
You should be able to share. Okay. Perfect.
It's visible to you. Okay. I will start in Arabic. يعطيكم العافية جميعا. أنا مهندس محمد أبو سعيد من غرفة صناعة عمان، دائرة التنمية الصناعية، قسم الدعم الفني. أنا مسؤول برامج.
Sorry, Director, if you could speak with a higher voice because the interpreter cannot hear you.
Okay. The voice is good?
No, we cannot really hear you.
Okay.
If you can speak closer to the microphone or raise your voice.
Here?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. أنا مهندس محمد أبو سعيد، غرفة صناعة عمان، من دائرة التنمية الصناعية، مسؤول برامج الربط مع الجامعات والأكاديمية. بداية احنا في غرفة صناعة عمان تأسست الغرفة في عام 1962 كمؤسسة غير ربحية ممثلة للقطاع الصناعي، وفي عندنا عضويتنا أكثر من 9000 عضو من القطاعات الصناعية المختلفة اللي هم 10 قطاعات. الآن هي الغرفة دورها الرئيسي تمثل مصالح الصناعيين والإطر الاقتصادية مع الحكومة والشركات المختلفة. بتكلم overview صغير عن القطاع الصناعي.
Sorry, there is an issue with the translation. We cannot hear you, I guess.
You have a problem? Is the
we cannot hear you. This is the thing. You should keep it closer to your microphone.
Okay. Please.
سوري جوزيبي that's محمود. محمد الصوت ممكن ترفع الصوت إذا سمحت.
الصوت هيك مسموع هيك الصوت؟
الآن ممتاز عشان عملية الترجمة.
ممتاز. يبدو مشكلة من المايك عندي، ما في مشكلة. تمام. بنتكلم عن القطاع الصناعي. المؤشرات. The voice is good.
Now the voice is good. Thank you.
اوكي. القطاع الصناعي احنا عندنا بنتكلم عن حوالي 252 ألف عامل بالقطاع الصناعي برؤوس أموال مسجلة فوق 4 مليار، وبتساهم بالجي دي بي الناتج المحلي about 24.3. عدد المصانع بالأردن about 17 ألف مصنع، والصادرات بتفوق 4 مليار. نتكلم عن المحاور الرئيسية للأنشطة الغرفة اللي هم بشكل عام قطاع الربط مع الجامعات والتدريب المهني والتعليم والتشغيل. نتكلم عن الطاقة كان تحدي رئيسي وأساسي للقطاع الصناعي. بنتكلم عن تطوير الإنتاجية وبرامج دعم تطوير الإنتاجية، أو برامج الكواليتي والإنفايرمنت، الجودة والبيئة. وثم آخر شيء ترويج الصناعة محليا ودوليا. احنا بنركز هنا في هذا البرزنتيشن عن الربط مع الأكاديمية. طبعا احنا بنحكي هنا بمختلف مستوياتها اللي هي منظومة غرفة الصناعة، سواء مع التعليم العالي أو التدريب المهني أو حتى التربية والتعليم اللي هم التوجيهي وماده. من عدة سنوات الغرفة عندها عدة برامج في الربط مع الجامعات. البرنامج الأول والأشهر والأكثر يعني خلينا نحكي تداولا بين المصانع والطلاب اللي هو برنامج ربط مشاريع التخرج الهندسية بالقطاع الصناعي اللي هو من عام 2010. هلا هو كان ربط مشاريع التخرج الهندسية، الآن احنا سميناها برنامج المشاريع الجامعية الصناعية، بحيث يشمل الهندسة والعلوم والاي تي، ليس فقط الهندسة. البرنامج الثاني هو مسابقة مشاريع التخرج بالتعاون مع نقابة المهندسين من العام 2013. أطلقنا هذه الجائزة كجائزة خاصة فقط للمشاريع المنفذة في القطاع الصناعي. طبعا حنتكلم عنها لاحقا بالسلايدات القادمة إن شاء الله. وفي عام 2016 صار عندنا مكتب نقل التكنولوجيا، وانضمينا للشبكة الأوروبية المشاريع الأوروبية بالعام 2016. طبعا الاستراتيجية الغرفة مع القطاع الجامعات والربط مع الجامعات بحيث أنه نحسن مخرجات التعليم العالي، ونربط مع القطاع الصناعي ونخفض الكلف والهدر، بحيث أنه ينعكس هذا الكلام على تنافسية المصانع وزيادة المكون التكنولوجي، ونطلع على مستوى الأساتذة والباحثين.
Sorry, Director. I'm being informed that your microphone, the voice is coming in and out, and this is making it difficult to translate. I don't know if it is possible to keep it close to the voice or something.
Okay. Just a moment.
We cannot hear you. There is no voice at the moment. In case if there is an issue, we can come back afterwards, and now we can perhaps switch to the next speaker. Professor Director is fine this with you, because we cannot hear a single word at this moment. Okay, I guess that we can move for the moment to the third best practice, and then in case we can have back the director Mohammed Abu Salik. We will allow him, of course, to finish his intervention. But for the moment, let's switch to the third best practice.
Dr. Mahmoud.
which is the Jordan Open Innovation Platform, JOIP, and is going to be presented by Mr. Hassan Zubi, who is the acting director for the National Center for Innovation, which is connecting from HCTT. JOIP was established in this year, actually in 2021, as the first platform of its kind in Jordan and in the whole MENA region. It collects all innovation activities and connects innovation ecosystem stakeholders. So, Mr. Zubi, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you, everyone. Hi, I'm glad to join you in this meeting. Actually, it's a big pleasure to be with you here in this fruitful meeting, actually. So please let me start, and to save some time, I need to share my screen first. Slide that's on that. For the screen, please. You can see my presentation, right?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you very much.
It looks a bit frozen, but yes.
The acting director for the NCI. I will go through the establishment for the NCI at first, and then we'll go to JOIP. I will spend not more than 10 minutes. As a complementary role for the HCST, for being the umbrella for all the science, technology, and innovation activities in Jordan, the NCI was established as an outcome for the National Innovation Strategy years 2013-2017. It's an affiliated center for the Higher Council to be, let's say, as an acting arm to implement the innovation strategies within the ecosystem in Jordan. It aims to organize and coordinate the effort of all the stakeholders in Jordan. There was a mapping study done here in Jordan, and it came out with some important outcomes, from which is the innovation stakeholders map, which divided the ecosystem to 8 main categories with 39 subcategories, including all the sectors here in Jordan, including government, academia, scientific research, universities, everything. It also came out with the challenges in the ecosystem. I think most of you know what are they, from going from multiplicity of strategies, lack of R&I law, lack of innovative culture, lack of proper public fund for R&I. The next thing, the main thing that came for the NCI is the vision and mission to be the national umbrella. Is the slides frozen, or it's running?
We still see the first slide.
Oh, sorry, let me share it again, please. Now, do you see the slides?
Now it's perfect.
Okay. It's moving or still stuck?
Now it's stuck with the 7, but don't worry.
Okay, I will not put it in full screen, please, Said. I will keep it like that. It's moving right now, correct, right?
Yes.
Okay. The vision and the mission for the NCI is to be the national umbrella and innovation hub to catalyzing all the innovation activities in Jordan. And the mission is to establish a national innovation ecosystem by providing stimulating environment for innovation, entrepreneurship, and business sector through an innovation hub. Said, next, please. The strategic goals for the NCI in general is formulating and activating national innovation policies and strategies, establishing a national reference, contributing in building and spreading the innovation culture in the ecosystem, empowering untapped Jordanian innovators in all Jordan, and facilitating the innovation practices by providing networking opportunities and funding sources. The functionalities or the services for the NCI was divided into 2 main categories. The first one is, let's say, is non-digital, by conducting workshops, meetings, and everything to serve the ecosystem, and it will be for sure physically. The other thing is the digital services, which mainly is done through Jordan Open Innovation Platform. As Giuseppe mentioned, it's first of its kind in Jordan and in the MENA region. It collects all the innovation activities and connects the innovation ecosystem stakeholders within a cloud-based fashion platform. Also, as a competitive advantage, we build it to be as the social media networks like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The services to be offered by Joy, it will be divided into two phases. The first phase, it has soft launch in July 2021. It includes a data clearing house, matchmaking and referral services, and monitoring and evaluation for all the innovation activities here in Jordan. The second version, let's say in the next year, it will have two main services as well. Surveying tool from which everyone who is in Joy can run a surveying campaigns or anything he wants to collect some data according to specific factors in the innovation ecosystem in Jordan. The other thing is it will be a fund and grants application to be able to control and manage any type of funds and grants here in Jordan. Mainly for the first release or the first version of Joy, we will have different types of features, starting from discover innovation, as I mentioned, as a social media fashion. We will share the knowledge through the AI techniques, including in Joy. It will be easy for you to reach and to connect with any researcher, any entrepreneur, any innovator in the ecosystem in Jordan, and from which you can build partnerships. You can build your own, let's say, startup. You can do anything you want through Joy. You will be able to build a rich and verified profile. Joy mainly is built from integrating APIs from different verified authenticated data sources like OrcID for researchers, Ringgold for OrcID for individuals, sorry, Ringgold for organizations, any other standards, any for classification for specialties in Joy will be from Frascati and also manuals as well. We will be able to build a national ID number also built on the national standards. From Joy, you will be able to have digital object identifier, and you can show your metadata for researchers, not the full research as a publisher. Joy will give just the metadata, and you will have a digital object identifier, referral and matchmaking easily. As I mentioned, you can connect to anyone in the ecosystem in Jordan, and hopefully we will spread the circle to be maybe for the region and later on globally. So you can access just only one hub, which is Joy, to reach any type of researchers. You can also find net leaderboards and dashboards for the active researchers in the ecosystem in Jordan. We will unify the classifications for all specialties, as I mentioned, according to Frascati and also manuals. So everything in Joy will be according to the international standards. Please, next slide. This is a simple figure, shows how the architecture for Joy from integrating different APIs from national sources for information. So anyone who joined Joy can have a verified, authenticated, correct data for any researchers in the Jordanian ecosystem. The next please, Saeed. This is how the look and feel screens for Joy. You will not, you will find it so easy, so simple to interact with Joy, to build your profile, to reach any piece of information through Joy. All building Joy, please next slide, is done to support the triple helix, as all the attendees here mentioned, between universities, industries, and government pillars. So Joy is built to serve mainly those three helixes in the Jordanian ecosystem. For further information, to know more about the NCI and Joy specifically, you can visit these two websites. And that's from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have to say that this was quite informative. So thanks, Mr. Zubi, as it allowed us to see how can digital help us overcome the challenges that we traditionally experienced, and we want to connect the different stakeholders. Actually, what I'm thinking is that it would be interesting to see during the discussion also of the next session on Wednesday, when we are going to have the presentation of another Euro-Mediterranean platform called Startup Euromed, if there could be potential synergies for connecting the two ideas.
Sure, we'll be here, Giuseppe. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So thanks again for your time. Dr. Mahmoud, can you confirm if the director of the Amman Chamber of Commerce is back with audio?
Giuseppe, allow us to check, but if not, I can talk on behalf of them about that project or program. So, Ahmad, I don't know.
Otherwise, if it's not possible, we can just go to the discussion, and then, of course, we will see to accommodate also during the next session on Wednesday.
So Giuseppe, allow me to talk on behalf of Muhammad. Some points about that program. This program, it's to connect the graduate students from the engineering colleges or faculties in the universities of Jordan, and they now and the program is now open to every faculties for science, agriculture, engineering. So they connect the projects of the students with the industrial sector. As you know that the industry sector have their problems, and they are searching for new solutions from the academia sector. So if we have a project that make a solution for a problem to industry, we can connect that project for the graduate students with the industrial sector to solve this problem, and how they can maximize or enhance the activity of that company or that industry in solving that problem. From let me talk about our sourcing, our national sourcing in Jordan, how we can use our sourcing or limited sourcing from Jordan to solve this problem. So the program is to connect the graduate students' projects with the industrial sector. I believe that the program is very useful, and let me, I can send the presentation, or Muhammad can send you the presentation and an idea about the program to clarify more and more for this program.
Thank you very much. Actually, if all the speakers can send to us the presentation, it will be all of our pleasure to share it with the participants, because it's quite important. Also, it's part of the training itself. Now, perhaps we can go to the parts concerning the questions and then the discussions also with the participants. Perhaps if Dr. Nina Voles also would like to help us in this opening a bit of the discussion. If anybody of the speakers would like to make an intervention for talking about their experience, the challenges that they are experiencing, or also to make a comment, is most welcome to do it, and they can just write it in the chat box or raise their hand. Perhaps we can start with a question. Perhaps we can have it for the project of Jovital, because it was quite interesting. So perhaps it would be interesting to know, why is it important that the quality of teaching improves? What are we learning from this experience in trying to train the trainers, the teachers themselves? What kind of approach can we take for ensure the sustainability of this kind of project, not for making them with a timeline and then an end? And what kind of other approaches are they finding as useful? So if Jovita would like to perhaps to give a bit of comments about this. Dr. Amiani, perhaps it's not connected at the moment. In the meanwhile, we can have a question, for instance, for Joy, for this project on innovation, because perhaps it would be interesting to know what are the key drivers in academia to support innovation and strategic partnerships. I mean, there is from one side, of course, research funding and adaptation to the kind of incentives that exist for researchers, but perhaps the question would be what is the approach in Jordan? How can we make policymakers and education academia more connected to this kind of support for funding and for partnerships? Perhaps if you have something in your experience that you would like to tell us, how can we support this kind of connections in Jordan?
Giuseppe, let me answer the question for Mr. Amin Musa about how Joy helped matching from inception. Actually, we are still in the first step of building the user base, and you will be able to connect any type of researcher if you have any idea and you can't start with it or have some gaps in it. You can reach any type of researchers through Joy, from which you can then connect them and build on what you have reached with that researcher, so you can build your own project. And how we can monitor them every day, everything in Joy is monitored through some AI mechanisms and techniques, and there are some dashboards. And of course, we can later on have some part for agreements, so any two researchers, any two people have any projects can sign agreements, and we can monitor them these things and continue on supporting them until they reach the final project or product they will have.
Thank you. This is quite interesting. Perhaps one follow-up question could be about how many beneficiaries have you had since the start of your projects, and how do you follow up afterwards? That there is a match done by the platform. Do you have any statistics for the moment, or it's too early?
Actually, not yet. There are just only tens of subscribers. Actually, there is not that huge user base for the meanwhile. And after that, there is a mechanism, as I told you, there will be some agreements, some automatic tools in Joy. Yes, we will be able to follow up through emails, through many techniques. It will be coming in the next phase. Yes.
Perfect. So I understand that one of the challenges is actually exposures of the tools that exist and making the stakeholders aware, because exactly. Something that happens is that there are many tools that exist, but perhaps the academia, the students, the researchers, the professors, or the businesses have not sufficient information that they can profit from this kind of instruments at their disposals. Perhaps Mahmoud can help us also with the question about the project from the Chamber of Commerce. Perhaps if you know if the graduates are working as an intern for the Chamber of Commerce or during or after of their projects, or what is the kind of relationship with the interns with the students?
Yes, Giuseppe. Actually, every year at the end of year, the Amman Chamber for Industry, they launched a call for students in every university that to submit their ideas through the Amman Chamber, and they can evaluate their idea, and if they found good idea and a solution for a problem in the industrial sector, they can connect the student with the industry. They can apply the idea through the industry, either with internship or as a new employee. They can hire the student if he has a good idea. So he can any student, she or he, can submit their idea at the end of every year through the Amman Chamber for Industry, and the Amman Chamber, they evaluate the idea and connect the good ideas or the best one or the best 10 ideas maybe with the industry sector.
Thank you. I'm seeing that somebody was brave enough finally to write a question in the tool. Unfortunately, it's in Arabic, so unless somebody is willing to read it, I'm afraid I cannot.
We have questions.
Yeah, there is a button with Q&A, and we have a nice question from Shadia Abul Ail, or perhaps the person would like to ask it in person. كيف
The question is in Arabic. If you prefer, I will answer in Arabic.
Please.
For Shadia.
Thank you.
Yes, شادية، احنا عم نروج البروجكت للجامعات في بداية كل فصل دراسي. إلقاء يعني قوائم المشاريع التخرج المتاحة من المصانع بنروجها للجامعات في بداية كل فصل دراسي. الدكتور الجامعي المهتم بيعمل انترستد على المشروع، وبيتم التواصل معنا وشبكهم عن طريق غرفة الصناعة مع المصنع المعني. ممكن يطوروا على الفكرة، ممكن تبقى كما هي، وبيتم تنفيذ المشروع خلال فصلين دراسيين إن شاء الله. I think it's clear for Shadia.
Thank you. Nina, Dr. Wallace, would you like also to contribute something now to the ongoing discussion? Perhaps some questions or some remarks?
I was really quite intrigued by the Jovital project. I think that's very interesting, especially as I think that teaching is a black box. What happens inside, and I think Dr. Mahmoud mentioned that, what happens inside the classroom, it's the teacher, the professor, and the students, and it's very hard to crack that nut. So I think I applaud generally to look more into the teaching. I think also if we're going to touch more upon that on Wednesday, but I also think that if we talk about employability of students, and it's a big word, employability, but how do we decompose that? What does that mean? And that means that, and it's not something, for instance, if we talk about entrepreneurship, it's a transversal theme. It's not going to help to have like 2 or 3 employability modules in the end of their masters or their bachelors. I'm hearing myself. Are you having?
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, good. And I just continue, sorry. So really to think, why does teaching need to change? How does it need to change? And how do we make it sustainable? So that would have been also one of my questions. Once the project ends, do you make it sustainable? How do you fix it in the system so things don't move back to square one after the funding has finished? You know, how do you integrate that, for instance, into your accreditation system? Yeah, how do a project like that works with the accreditation system? So all of the learnings are actually fixed in the accreditation system, and there is a lateral spread across. Yeah, and which always brings us back to understanding the pressures under which higher education institutions work. They have a completely different logic from industry or from policymakers. You know, what are the incentive systems? Where do you need to dock? Where do you need to, can you leverage things? And how do you, it's a lot about incentive systems. So I think these are some questions. I don't know if the colleague from JOIP is maybe back. It would be very interesting to hear the answer. Jovital, Dr. Almiani. Still? No, he is not. But maybe somebody else has got some comments here.
Dr. Madar, are you there?
Of course, also participants can give their own answer or comments. Actually, we invite you to do so because it will be good for all of us to learn from it.
Yeah, I think we have another question from Shadia Aboulay.
Muhammad, please, if you can answer us.
Yes. No certain conditions for accepting a project. Any project will develop in industry, help the factory to improve our production lines, our maintenance plan. It's linkage with academia institute. Just it. No conditions for the project.
Thank you.
Also, just there's one hint. The factory must to be member of my chamber of industry.
Perfect. I'm seeing that there is another questions by Samar. Perhaps would you like to ask it orally, or we can just read it? SRFA Samar. So basically it's asking, I think, as a funding national agency in SRI.
Yes, Giuseppe, allow me, I'm sorry. It's the Scientific Research and Innovation Support Fund. It's the National Funding Agency for Jordan. It's at the Higher Education Ministry. So the SRISF, they support also the entrepreneurs and the new innovative ideas, but they are looking how to support the actual ideas or the right person, because as you know, Giuseppe, many PhDs students, masters, maybe and the lecturer at the academia, they submit their proposal for this funding agency to support them or their ideas. But we still talking about a basic idea or a basic research, but we are looking for the applied one, for the new ideas. So the SRISF, they are looking for new ideas and how to support the right person who's have an innovative idea and solutions for our problems in the private sector. So we invite all researchers, all entrepreneurs to submit their ideas and their proposal to the SRISF. And I think after the submission, the SRISF looking for the good ideas and how to support them.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mahmoud. May I say something, add something?
Of course.
Yes, you are here, Samar. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Samar from Scientific Research Support Fund, a national funding agency, part of Ministry of Higher Education. We are a governmental arm for funding research, and recently we are focusing on providing funds for innovation and entrepreneurial projects. And actually, as I mentioned in my comment, we are seeking to attract those individuals who are not covered under the umbrella of universities, individuals, entrepreneurs in the private sector. We are still encountering some problems. And as you know, Dr. Mahmoud, we have problems with legislation. We are working on this in cooperation with our colleagues in other organizations such as Higher Council and the Center for Innovation in Higher Council and in Royal Society also, and all our partners in Jordan. We are trying to provide more comprehensive national umbrella for the young innovators and entrepreneurs to submit and to apply for funding their ideas, which we are seeking the ideas that has impact on the sustainable development and on the national economy in general. Also, for this purpose, we launched more than one cycle for providing applications to provide more than one chance for the young to apply 3 times a year. We receive applications from the applicants, both in universities or private as a student or the academic staff or in private sector. And we study them, evaluate them, and we provide funds for them. It's not easy, actually, providing funds for innovation and entrepreneurs projects. This is new for us in Scientific Research Fund, and we are working on developing and enhancing this experience, first with cooperation with our partners on national and internationally. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Giuseppe, allow me, thank you, Samar. As you know, Giuseppe, we are working in the cooperation with the SRISF actually to change our students and researcher mindset. The researchers are still, most of researchers are still thinking traditionally, thinking for the research for the promotion. And the students are still thinking traditionally after the graduate to have a job in government institution or in private institution. It's the traditional way, but we are thinking how to change their mindset, how to think out of the box. We encourage our researchers to submit their applied research with new ideas, new products, new services. We encourage the student to think out of the box, how to have their own company or startup. So the thinking in the innovative way.
Perfect. Thank you very much for highlighting this issue. And actually, during the next session, where the one on Wednesday, we are actually going to have a presentation by Dr. Nina Voles, specifically on knowledge exchange in teaching and learning, exactly for discussing how to provide with the skills and the appropriate entrepreneurial mindset in order to improve employability. Because as you mentioned, we need to see how we can promote new thinking and thinking outside of the box. But this implies also that we discuss how teaching and learning should be updated, should be modified for the new challenges that we are experiencing globally and specifically in the Mediterranean. So I believe that this is quite a relevant issue to highlight. It's not specific to Jordan. It's not specific to the Mediterranean in general, but it's true that in the Mediterranean, changing this kind of approach is proving to be quite a challenge. Perhaps it is an area where there should be further action in the future. So I believe that we have reached the end of our first session. I hope that now you are interested in looking forward for the second session. Any closing word from Dr. Voles and from HCCT before we go? Would you like to give a closing word or a reflection?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you all for participating. Sorry, I missed part of the workshop. We're looking forward to meeting again in 2 days. And I wish you everyone good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depends on where you are. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, of course, and for supporting through your partnership the work which has made this training possible, because without the strong collaboration with the Higher Council of Science Technology, we would not have been able to really to go into the reality of Jordan, especially since this is a digital training. So we feel like we are in Jordan at this moment. Thanks for your strong cooperation. Thanks again.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Anytime. Thank you.
And a last reflection, or I feel that we are good to go. This is not a closing, it's not an ending, because we are going to meet in 2 days. So I would like to thank for the moment for the attention and the participation, and of course for all the great work done by the interpreters, despite some audio challenges and everything. Thanks to all of the participants for having joined, and we look forward for the discussion that hopefully are going to come out during the second session. Thanks again, and I wish you all a wonderful afternoon.
Giuseppe, I'm sorry, if we can open the registration link again in these 2 days, because many person asked me today morning if they can make the registration.
Well, actually, it's open the link at this moment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, next session, Wednesday. Hi.
By the way, this first session will be recorded, so it will be sent to everybody that missed the first session. Thank you, everybody, and I wish you all an excellent day.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you all.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.